Final Fantasy VII, released in January 1997, may arguably be the sole reason as to why video games now are so well detailed and versed in their storytelling and gameplay. This was a game that transitioned 2D interaction into a 3D world filled with life, death, and meaning. However, apart from its revolutionary style of gameplay, Final Fantasy VII's complex characters and story hold an underlying and noteworthy depiction of mental illness that still holds the same weight it does today. In the beginning of the game, you play as the protagonist Cloud, who is an ex-soldier, now turned mercenary, taking part in an eco-terrorist attack under the militia group Avalanche to bomb Shinra, a mega corporation that is harnessing energy from the planet for their own self-interest. After the terrorist attack goes wrong, and the bomb not only destroys just a tiny part of Shinra, but also a whole community of people, Cloud and Avalanche target the president of Shinra in order to redeem themselves from their failure. However, in their mission to get the president, Sephiroth, Cloud's childhood hero, has returned from the dead, and who has already assassinated the president, is now trying to destroy the world with a giant meteor in order to fulfill a prophecy that he believes will create a new bountiful world. Now, to stop the planet from dying, Cloud and his team of misfits venture out in the world in order to stop Sephiroth from destroying the planet, Shinra, under new leadership, from draining the world of its life force, and the planet itself, who in response to all the chaos above land is now spewing out gigantic monsters that are sent to rid the planet of humans so that its energy and life force cannot be taken advantage of. Apart from its political themes of war and corrupt government, its biblical themes of the end of the world and the apocalypse, and its general themes of friendship created in uncertain circumstances and nature and how we should treat it, what makes Final Fantasy VII so compelling and ageless is how we see the characters react to the situation that they are in. For this analysis, I will be particularly focusing on Cloud and how his cognitive and behavioral patterns that he portrayed in his journey are in accordance with the 5th edition of the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorder, when he displays evident comorbid symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder, panic disorder, and dissociative amnesia. As early as the beginning of the game, a key indication that Cloud has developed PTSD is illustrated when he has an involuntary distressing memory of a traumatic event when he simply walks across a bridge in a Shinra energy reactor. Once the distressing memory occurs, it is revealed that Cloud witnessed his childhood friend weeping next to her dead father, that Sephiroth has killed. However, what makes this a clear sign that Cloud is portraying symptoms of PTSD is not only from the fact that the memory manifested itself involuntarily, but also because the bridge and the area of Cloud's distressing memory are architecturally structured very similarly. This shows that Cloud responded to an external cue, i.e. the bridge's structure, that symbolized an aspect of one of his traumatic events, which would be the almost identicalness to the spatial location of his distressing memory. Another reason Cloud exhibits symptoms of PTSD is because he avoids external reminders that arouse distressing memories and feelings. After having a panic attack from thinking that he did something with Sephiroth, when in reality he didn't, Cloud insists that he does not travel with the rest of his team to a certain location, in fear that if he sees Sephiroth again, he'll go crazy. This correlates to the DSM-5's definition of PTSD because Cloud makes an effort to avoid a place and a person in order to not arouse distressing feelings he has within himself. Furthermore, this also relates to Cloud's symptoms of panic disorder, which I will go over in the next section. However, Cloud also shows symptoms of PTSD because he has a severe detachment to others while also having a persistent inability to experience positive emotions, which is in accordance with the DSM-5's definition of PTSD. This is evident because several times when someone has tried to open up to Cloud personally, he responds by telling them that he is not interested in an apathetic tone. Moreover, this is one of his go-to sayings when someone tries to talk to him about plans, life, and advice. On top of that, Cloud rarely shows signs of experiencing positive emotions throughout the entirety of the game. One clear example of this is when Cloud and one of his teammates, Aerith, are alone on a Ferris wheel together in an amusement park filled with fireworks, and even in a whole conversation about Aerith wanting to know the real Cloud, Cloud remains distant, emotionless, and hypervigilant, and does not say a word to Aerith for almost their entire conversation. Along with PTSD, Cloud also displays symptoms of panic disorder, which is clearly evident in two cases. The first one, which has been previously stated, is when Cloud had an abrupt panic attack after seeing an illusion of Sephiroth. In this particular situation, The audio of the game lets us hear Cloud's heart rate start to pound and accelerate as he visibly falls to the ground while trembling. After this incident occurred, Cloud becomes resistant to venturing out in the world because he has a strong concern about additional attacks and their consequences, and how he might lose control of himself. In the second case, after hijacking a Shinra submarine, Cloud has another unexpected episode in which he visibly becomes restless and shaky as he runs his place while fidgeting with his hands near his chest. However, Cloud shows symptoms of panic disorder many times throughout the entirety of the game in small scenarios. Multiple times we see his whole body tremble or fall to the ground as an episode occurs. We also see him many times put his hands near his chest during an episode, alluding to chest pain and discomfort. All of these behaviors are also what ultimately makes him fear that he is going to lose control of himself, which from his portrayal of dissociative amnesia, he may already have. For the beginning of the game, Cloud is depicted as a typical standoffish hero, one who fights for himself while rarely engaging with others or showing any signs of happiness. He is persistently rude to others and makes it clear to his teammates that compared to him, he is leagues ahead of them. As the game progresses, this stays true, saying that what is being presented is Cloud's whole stone-cold soldier personality. However, halfway through the game, as we literally travel into Cloud's subconsciousness, we learn that the soldier and mercenary Cloud presents himself to be is just a lie. As we enter Cloud's subconsciousness, we learn that Cloud was never a soldier, but someone who worked under Shinra. He was never the person he presented himself to be, and yet, as we look inside his memories, he truly believed that he was. And this is focal to Cloud's character and the story as a whole, because Cloud being a soldier would be the only way he would interact with Sephiroth. Yet, the audience knows that there were instances when Cloud and Sephiroth did physically interact with each other, even if he wasn't a soldier. So the problem of what's real and what isn't real manifests itself in Cloud's memories. And this factor becomes a strong influence as to why Cloud develops symptoms of dissociative amnesia. Cloud constantly battles with his identity. In fact, it's such a large part of the story that his question of "Who am I?" is the title of one of the songs in the game's soundtrack. We see this is even a harder battle for him than it may seem because he poses the question, "Who are you?" to himself, not in a figurative meaning, but as a literal sense. Cloud really doesn't know who he is. Inside his subconsciousness, we see that Cloud often mixes up his memories, claiming that he was in one location when in fact he was in another. We also see that he has memory gaps, in which he can't even comprehend what happened during those times and events. Furthermore, we also see how important Cloud's belief that he was a soldier and what it meant to his life and functioning at the very beginning of the game, when we are first introduced to him as ex-soldier instead of Cloud, illustrating that Cloud truly believed he was a soldier and that he has forgotten his true identity. However, the clearest distinction of dissociative amnesia is Cloud's response to the traumatic event that he claims started it all. After traveling back to his hometown with Sephiroth so they can complete a mission for Shinra, Cloud witnesses Sephiroth destroy his entire hometown in a psychotic state. And after this, he even witnesses Sephiroth attack his childhood friend. However, in his subconsciousness, we learn that although these events were real, how Cloud perceived the events wasn't. See, Cloud was actually there. He just didn't witness anything. What he truly believed he saw were actually the memories of his friend Zack, who was a soldier, who did interact with Sephiroth multiple times, and who did see Sephiroth in his psychotic state. Cloud was so scared and ashamed of that traumatic experience that in response to the worst traumatic event, he uniquely created the memories that his friend Zack had into his own, and intertwined them so profoundly that he couldn't remember himself, where he was, or what truly happened. And this isn't just mixing up a friend's memory with his own. Cloud truly thought that he experienced Zack's life, that he completely forgot that Zack existed, and his own identity. Furthermore, this symptom of dissociative amnesia should be clearly distinguished with dissociative identity disorder because Cloud does not act like Zack or possess any other personality. What he possesses is a false memory that he perceives as true, which ultimately causes him to forget his own memory and identity due to memory gaps and mixed memories. In addition, we also see how this affects Cloud immensely in his life when he claims that he is the master of his own illusionary world, showing that what he experiences isn't reality but something more of a mirage. Moreover, we can see how Cloud's battle with his identity truly puts significant impairments in his life when he begs one of the leader of Shinra to give him a special number that would indicate what type of person he is, in the same way the label student would easily be identifiable for a young person. What makes Cloud one of my favorite heroes is that he was initially an imposter, pretending to be a hero, and in dire circumstances, indirectly becomes a hero in his own way. However, what makes him feel so real, ageless, and relatable for all generations is how he cognitively and behaviorally reacts to certain situations. His dissociative amnesia mixes up his memory and develops memory gaps in his brain, causing him to lose his identity and later finding it by creating a name for himself. And his PTSD and panic disorder illustrates that heroes could be anyone who gets scared or has a traumatic past, showing that fear can just be another aspect of bravery. Lastly, what I'm about to play next is one of my favorite quotes from an official Final Fantasy VII animation that I think clearly depicts all of Cloud's disorders in a few profound lines of dialogue. Note that in this scene, Sephiroth isn't truly physically there, illustrating that the battle that he and Cloud had prior to their dialogue metaphorically shows how someone fights their way in life with mental illness.
思い出の中にじっとしていてくれ。
私は思い出にはならないさ。
What makes Final Fantasy VII's depiction of mental disorder more influential and impactful than a TV show or a movie is that it is simply a game. And from that sense, you are the character. And from the start of the game to the end of the game, you are Cloud. So his comorbid experience of mental disorders is also the player's experience of mental disorders. And I think the medium of video games allows such a stronger knowledge of what mental disorders can do to someone's life because the player doesn't want their character to lose. We feel how much weight Cloud carries because we are him from the beginning. We share the same pain and feelings as he does because we are physically progressing his story. And I think the struggle of getting through his journey uniquely creates a positive depiction of mental disorders because it translates the feelings of having a mental disorder and how someone may individually respond to it to millions of gamers around the world. Also in a way that movies and TV shows can't replicate because they lack the ability to immersively and interactively progress the story with the audience cooperation. Ultimately, Final Fantasy VII's impact is undeniable because it has reached millions of people and is so well positively looked at that people claim that it is the greatest RPG of all time. And because I am a little biased to this, I would say not only is Final Fantasy VII's story and depiction of mental disorders one of my favorites in video games, it is also easily one of my favorites across any medium of storytelling. And that's about it. Thank you.